They laughed at him. And that was the moment he decided to say nothing. Not because he was weak, not because he had no answer, but because he understood something they didn't. Have you ever noticed the loudest person in the room is rarely the strongest? There was a boy once who used to react to everything, every insult, every opinion, every disrespect. If someone raised their voice, he raised his higher. If someone mocked him, he attacked back harder. He thought reaction meant strength. He thought defending himself instantly meant power. But every time he reacted, he lost something. He lost control. He lost clarity. He lost respect. And worst of all, he lost himself. One day, something changed. Not outside, inside. It happened on a regular afternoon. A group of people were talking behind his back. Not quietly, not secretly, loud enough so he could hear every word. They questioned his dreams. They mocked his silence. They called him too soft. The old version of him would have exploded. The old version would have walked straight into that circle and turned words into war. But that day, he just stood there, breathing, listening, feeling the fire rise in his chest and choosing not to feed it. Do you know how powerful that moment was? Because when you don't react, you force the other person to face their own noise. Silence is uncomfortable for insecure people. When he didn't respond, something strange happened. They got louder, then awkward, then defensive, because they were expecting a fight. And when you don't give people the fight they want, you take away their control. That was the first lesson. Reaction is surrender. Calm is control. From that day forward, he trained himself. Every insult became a test. Every provocation became practice. He stopped arguing online. He stopped explaining himself to people committed to misunderstanding him. He stopped trying to win conversations. Instead, he started winning battles no one could see. The battle inside. Because let's be honest, it's easy to shout. It's easy to clap back. It's easy to send that angry message. It's easy to prove someone wrong. But it is brutally hard to stay calm when your ego is screaming, to stay silent when your pride is burning, to walk away when your emotions are begging you to fight. That is strength. Not the strength of muscles, the strength of mastery. And slowly, something shifted. People who once mocked him started watching him. People who once tested him stopped testing him. Why? Because calm people are unpredictable. You cannot manipulate someone who controls their emotions. You cannot trigger someone who understands themselves. You cannot defeat someone who refuses to enter your chaos. Think about that. Chaos feeds on reaction. Drama survives on response. Anger grows when you water it with attention. But when you stand still, when you remain unshaken, when your face shows no crack, the storm has nowhere to land. And storms without resistance die quickly. But don't misunderstand. Staying calm does not mean you feel nothing. He felt everything. The disrespect, the doubt, the loneliness. Because here's the truth no one talks about. Choosing not to react feels like swallowing fire. It burns, it aches, it tests you. There were nights he replayed conversations in his head, thinking of better comebacks, stronger arguments, sharper words. He could have destroyed them verbally. He had the intelligence, he had the facts, but he chose discipline over drama. And discipline builds something reaction never can. Power. Real power is quiet. Have you ever seen a lion argue with a dog? No. The lion does not respond because it does not need to prove it is a lion. That realization changed everything. He stopped trying to be understood by people who were committed to misunderstanding him. He stopped reacting to gossip. He stopped correcting every false narrative. Instead, he built. While they talked, he worked. While they criticized, he improved. While they laughed, he learned. And slowly, the scoreboard changed. The same people who once questioned him started asking him for advice. The same voices that once mocked his silence started respecting it. Because calm is not weakness. Calm is preparation. When you don't react emotionally, you respond strategically. And strategy always defeats impulse. There was another moment that tested him deeply. Someone close betrayed him, not publicly, privately. The kind of betrayal that makes your chest tight. The kind that tempts you to expose everything, to send screenshots, to ruin reputations. And again, he stayed calm. Not because it didn't hurt, but because he understood something powerful. Revenge gives temporary satisfaction. Composure builds permanent advantage. He didn't expose. He didn't shout. He simply removed access, silently, and continued forward. Months later, that same person tried to reconnect. Why? Because people realize the value of calm individuals too late. Calm people are rare. They are stable in a world addicted to outrage. They are grounded in a culture that profits from reaction. And here's the twist most people miss. The goal is not to suppress emotion. The goal is to master it. When you react instantly, you are owned by your feelings. When you pause, breathe, and choose your response, you own them. And ownership is power. You want to win? Then stop playing emotional ping pong with people who thrive on chaos. Stop answering every insult. Stop defending every accusation. Stop attending every argument you're invited to. Silence is not losing. Silence is observing. And the observer always sees what the emotional person misses. Because when you are calm, you notice patterns. You notice manipulation. You notice insecurity disguised as confidence. And awareness is advantage. He realized something else too. The world tests calm people harder, because calm exposes immaturity, and immature people feel threatened by stability. But every test strengthened him. Every ignored insult thickened his skin. Every unreturned attack sharpened his focus. He became untouchable. Not physically, emotionally. And that is the highest level of freedom. Imagine walking into a room and nothing anyone says can shake you. Imagine scrolling online and comments do not control your mood. Imagine someone trying to provoke you and failing. That is dominance. Not loud dominance, silent dominance. And here's what nobody tells you. When you master no reaction, you master negotiation, you master leadership, you master influence, because people trust those who remain steady under pressure. Panic spreads fear, calm spreads confidence, and the world follows confidence. But there is one final truth he learned, and it changed his life forever. Calm people do not win because they are quiet. They win because while others are reacting, they are calculating. While others are shouting, they are building. While others are distracted by ego, they are focused on results. And results speak louder than reactions ever will. The day he fully understood this, he stopped needing validation. He stopped needing to prove. He stopped needing the last word. Because he realized the last word doesn't matter. The last result does. And that is why calm people always win. Not immediately, not loudly, but inevitably. They thought his silence meant he had no fire left. They were wrong. His fire just stopped burning outside and started burning within. Have you ever seen what happens when pressure has nowhere to escape? It transforms, it condenses, it becomes force. And that is what happened to him. At first, staying calm felt unnatural. His body still reacted, his heart still raced, his hands still tightened. But he stopped letting his emotions drive the car. He moved them to the passenger seat. He listened to them, but he did not obey them. And slowly,
something powerful began to form inside him. Emotional distance. Not coldness, not indifference. Distance. The ability to step back from the moment and see it clearly. One evening, in a meeting room filled with tension, someone tried to corner him publicly. A sharp comment, a subtle insult, designed to embarrass. Everyone waited. They expected a reaction. They leaned forward in their chairs, hungry for conflict. But he didn't react. He adjusted his posture, looked directly at the person, and calmly asked a simple question. Is that helping us move forward? Silence filled the room. Not his silence, theirs. Because calm people don't fight chaos, they expose it. And exposure is more powerful than confrontation. The person who attacked him suddenly looked smaller, not because he insulted back, but because he didn't. That day he understood something critical. When you react, you shrink to the level of the attacker. When you remain calm, they are forced to rise to yours or collapse under their own behavior. Most collapse. But calm is not just about other people. The real war happens when no one is watching. There were days he doubted himself. Days when silence felt heavy. Days when he wondered if speaking out would have been easier. Because let's be honest, silence can feel lonely. When you don't defend yourself, you allow rumors to breathe. When you don't explain, people create their own stories. And that can hurt deeply. There were nights he questioned if calm was weakness disguised as maturity. But every time he considered reacting impulsively, he asked himself one question. Will this matter in 5 years? Most reactions fail that test. Angry messages, social media arguments, public clapbacks, temporary satisfaction, long-term regret. And he refused to trade long-term power for short-term emotion. So instead of reacting outwardly, he reacted inwardly. He trained, he read, he built skills, he strengthened his mind. While others were burning energy on drama, he invested energy in growth. And growth compounds. Drama evaporates. Months turned into years. The difference became visible. The people who once thrived on reaction were stuck in cycles. Same arguments.
Same conflicts, same emotional patterns. Nothing changed for them. Because reacting keeps you busy, but calm keeps you productive, and productivity wins. But the biggest test came unexpectedly. A situation where silence alone wasn't enough. Someone tried to damage his reputation seriously. This wasn't casual disrespect. This was strategic, calculated, harmful. And for a moment, the old version of him returned. The urge to destroy, the urge to expose everything, the urge to retaliate publicly. His mind created perfect revenge scenarios, precise, sharp, devastating. And here is where most people misunderstand calm individuals. They think calm means incapable. They think silence means harmless. They think patience means powerless. But calm people often have the most controlled weapons. They simply choose when to use them. He did not react immediately. He gathered facts. He studied the situation. He watched carefully. Because reacting emotionally would have played into the trap. So instead of exploding, he responded strategically. Quiet legal steps, clear documentation, measured communication. No drama, no emotional posts, no public breakdown. And when the truth surfaced, it surfaced clean, undeniable, precise. The attack collapsed under its own lies, and the person who tried to harm him, they exposed themselves without him raising his voice once. That was the day he fully understood the power of no reaction. Reaction is noise. Response is precision. Noise feels powerful. Precision is powerful. From that point forward, people stopped testing him the same way, because there is something intimidating about someone who cannot be emotionally manipulated.
You cannot bait them. You cannot rush them. You cannot control them. And control is what most people seek when they provoke you. They don't want truth. They want reaction. They want to know they can move you like a puppet. The moment you stop reacting, you cut the strings, and puppeteers hate losing control. But here's the deeper layer. Calm is not about other people at all. It's about self-respect. When you react impulsively, you betray your future self. When you stay composed, you protect your future position. He started noticing how often the world rewards impulsive behavior temporarily. Outrage gets attention, drama gets views, arguments get applause. But attention is not influence, and applause is not respect. Respect is earned through stability, and stability is built through control. He became someone people trusted in crisis. When others panicked, he slowed down. When others shouted, he lowered his voice. When others blamed, he focused on solutions. And people followed him, not because he demanded authority, but because calm is magnetic. Think about the strongest person you know. Chances are, they're not the loudest. They're not the most reactive. They are steady, grounded, measured. Because true power does not rush, it waits. And here comes the final realization. Calm people always win, not because they avoid conflict, but because they choose the battlefield. They refuse to fight emotional wars. They fight strategic ones. They don't waste energy proving themselves. They use energy improving themselves. They don't chase validation. They chase mastery. And mastery makes validation irrelevant. The world may misunderstand you at first. They may mistake your silence for weakness. They may assume your calm means fear. Let them. Because while they're judging, you are preparing. And preparation always defeats assumption. One day, results will speak. One day, your composure will be your reputation. One day, the same people who tried to provoke you will realize they were never fighting you. They were fighting their own lack of control. And that is the twist. The power of no reaction is not about defeating others. It's about refusing to let others defeat your inner peace. It's about understanding that your energy is limited and spending it wisely. Because every time you refuse to react, you are choosing growth over ego. You are choosing strategy over impulse. You are choosing future over moment. And in a world addicted to reaction, the calm person stands out like a mountain in a storm, unmoved, unshaken, unbreakable. That is why calm people always win. Not fast, not flashy, but forever.
They thought the story was about silence. It wasn't. It was about control. And control is rare. By the time most people understood him, he had already outgrown their opinions. But here's what no one saw. The real transformation didn't happen in public. It happened in the quiet mornings when no one was watching. It happened in the moments when anger knocked on his chest like a desperate visitor, and he chose not to open the door. Do you know what true discipline looks like? It looks like typing a message, reading it twice, and deleting it. It looks like hearing an insult, feeling the sting, and smiling slightly instead of striking back. It looks like being underestimated and letting time answer for you. Because time is the most brutal weapon calm people carry. Time exposes everything. Time reveals character. Time separates noise from value. There came a day when someone younger approached him, frustrated, angry, ready to fight the world. "They keep disrespecting me," the young man said. "They think I'm weak because I don't react." He looked at him carefully and asked one question. "Are you weak, or are you just not loud?" The young man stayed silent, because deep down he knew the world confuses volume with strength, but storms are loud, mountains are silent. Which one lasts longer? He began to understand that the real flex is emotional independence. When someone can insult you and it doesn't shake your identity, that is power. When someone can leave your life and it doesn't break your direction, that is power. When someone tries to provoke you and fails, that is power. But power comes with a cost. Calm people often walk alone for a while, because not everyone understands restraint. Not everyone understands why you don't clap back. Not everyone understands why you don't defend yourself publicly. They think you're scared. They think you're passive. They think you're losing. Let them think. Because here is the truth that changes everything. When you don't react, you force life to reveal who is truly aligned with you. The ones who need drama will drift away. The ones who value stability will stay. And your circle becomes smaller, but stronger. There was a final moment that sealed everything. A public setting, high stakes, tension thick in the air. Someone tried one last time to push him. A direct challenge, a sharp accusation. Eyes turned toward him again, waiting, hoping, expecting. He paused, not out of fear, but out of awareness. He understood something at that moment that most never will. If he reacted emotionally, he would win the argument, but lose the position. If he stayed calm, he might lose the moment, but win the future. So he chose the future. He spoke slowly, clearly, without anger, without ego, and he ended his words with something simple. I don't compete with chaos. That sentence ended the room, not loudly, but permanently. Because when you refuse to wrestle in the mud, you force the other person to stand in it alone, and suddenly people see clearly. Years later, when others were still trapped in cycles of reaction, he was leading, building, creating, peaceful, unbothered. And here is the final twist. The power of no reaction is not about others at all. It's about protecting your inner world. Because every reaction is a leak. Every emotional explosion drains you. Every unnecessary argument steals focus, and focus is currency. Calm people protect their currency. They invest it wisely. They don't spend it proving themselves to people who never intended to understand them. And that is why they always win. Not because they silence others, but because they silence the chaos within themselves. The world will always test you. People will always provoke you. Ego will always whisper, say something, prove something, show them. But the strongest voice you will ever develop is the one that says, not worth my energy. Imagine who you could become if nothing could emotionally hijack you. Imagine the clarity, the confidence, the sharpness of thought. Imagine walking into any room knowing that no one there controls your state. That is freedom, and freedom is the highest form of power. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, pause, breathe, smile slightly, and remember, calm is not weakness. Silence is not surrender. No reaction is not losing. It is choosing a bigger victory. Because while they are reacting, you are rising. While they are shouting, you are sharpening. While they are distracted, you are dominating quietly. And one day, they will look at your life, your results, your peace, your stability, and they will finally understand. You were never silent because you were weak. You were silent because you were building something they couldn't see. And by the time they realized it, you had already won. Forever.